Previously on Big Brother. Good evening, I'm Seth Ott. Welcome to Previously on Big Brother Week 7. And so this week I want to change things up a little bit in terms of how I've been doing this. What I've been kind of going with is just basically an overall recap of the show, and there's a lot going on, and it would kind of just be redundant to go over it all again. So basically what I want to do going forward here is give some major points of what happened in the week, and then kind of give my reactions and where I see things going here going forward. So obviously the big thing that happened this week, the 6 shooters are done in terms of being a group. There was a big blow up early on in the week. They showed that would happen on Thursday's episode last week. They showed it on Sunday. And really what that came down to is that Mickey had mentioned something about Holly and Kat knowing each other previously outside of the house. There was already this rumor going on that Mickey and Holly and Kat knew each other, as well as this 3 group. That's not true, but it was just Holly and Kat. But Jack had suspected it. He went and told Christy and the rest of the 6 shooters, and this started this whole big thing, this whole big argument and blow up that ended up with them breaking up and ending the whole group. And as I've talked about in the past, I'm pretty happy about that. I didn't think this is a group that was going to last very long to begin with. And then, you know, when it comes down to it, I just didn't think they were a good group together. I mean, honestly, it didn't make for very good TV either. I mean, basically they were just running the house and they were winning every week. And yeah, that looks good in terms of them as a group and saying, no, they were a dominant group, but really it wasn't. I mean, they were just kind of bullying people and letting people go into line in terms of who they want out next. And we kind of saw this in a few seasons ago with Paul. I think though the difference that Paul did was Paul took his status, and he was on 2 back-to-back seasons, but Paul kind of took his status as a veteran and used it to create an alliance. And yeah, everyone in the house is kind of doing what he said, but he also had opponents and things like that. And this season, there wasn't really any opponents for the 6 shooters. They were just kind of, again, falling in line until this week. And so the 6 shooters broke up. What we're looking at now with this group, or at least for this last week, was Kat and Holly and Mickey, or really just Holly and Mickey, because Kat's kind of on her own doing her own thing. But then we had Jack and Annalise and Christy and Tommy as the other 4 there. And so it's an interesting split. I think it kind of just shows that like Mickey is really the one that is the unlikable guy. He's kind of the guy that rubs people the wrong way. Jack also does that too, as we kind of saw in Thursday's episode. But you know, he was kind of the guy that was a little bit more hot-headed. So I personally prefer the 4 over Mickey and Holly and kind of Kat, but that's just me. But that will kind of go into what happened here. So Jessica, as I mentioned last week at the end of the last week's episode, wins head of household. I didn't know what she was going to do. I really thought it was going to be just kind of a wasted week, but it turns out to be a big week. She puts up Mickey and Jack, and she goes after the head honchos. I didn't think she was going to do it. I really didn't. And so I was happy that she did. And it kind of further solidified that group she has with Cliff and Nicole and Kat. Again, we don't know if that's really Kat's group. It could be though. Cliff's Angels, as they apparently are called. I don't know. I didn't hear them be named, but pretty funny stuff. I that's my favorite group, to be completely honest, and I think they're probably in the best position if Kat sticks with them, because now there's 4 of them. They're the biggest alliance in the house. Could potentially add in Nick as well. Nick is a wild card at this point. He's really in favor with a lot of different groups, but he even mentioned he's playing his own game now. So we don't really know where his allegiances lie. We don't really know if he's, gonna join up with someone, or if he's just gonna play kind of like Kat is and just going where the power is type of thing. We'll see how that works out, but I kind of like where Nick's at too, depending on where he aligns. But so we have that group of 4. Again, Jessica's in power. She also wins power veto this week, which really surprised me. I saw her come out as a competitor this week, and I think everyone else did, and that's good because she's building herself a resume at this point. She's giving herself some wins, and she's making big moves, and she's not doing it by blindsiding anyone. She just stood up right in front of everyone and said, hey, here's what I'm doing, and she did it. And that's big for her, because I don't think she's going to be in a bad position next week either. I think she did what she had to do, and we're still looking at the three versus 3, because just say it, Jack got nominated, or excuse me, got eliminated, he got voted out, and so we're left with a group of 3. We're left with Nick, we left with Tommy, Christy, and Holly, Tommy, Christy, and Annalise, and then Holly, Mickey, and again potentially Kat. And so I think those are still the people that are butting heads, and I think that's why people like Cliff played this perfectly. Cliff's in an amazing spot because he stuck with the power for a long time, and then now that the power is crumbling, he's left in a spot where everyone likes him. He's won competitions. He's proven himself, as I mentioned in weeks past. And so now that there's all these butting heads and this crumbling, Cliff's in a spot where now he has this 4-person alliance, and he's got the numbers, and those other people are just still cannibalizing each other, and he's going to be left in a spot where he could potentially win the game, and that's really cool. So I'm excited for Cliff. And again, Nick too. Nick can choose where he wants to go, essentially. Everyone kind of has, for the most part, has interest in him. I guess maybe not Christy. I think she still thinks he's a snake or whatever the case may be. I think that was personally more Bella, but you never know. So we have these placements in the house. Jack does get evicted, and then we see that the head of household, we see Tommy wins. And so that is another big point that happens this week, where now the power is back with what was formerly the power of the 6 shooters, or the majority of the 6 shooters, with Christy, Tommy, and Annalise. So they're an interesting little group, and I really think they're going to go after Mickey, and I have no idea, but I think they're going to go after Mickey and Holly, and I think that is a smart move for them to do, because they don't really, I mean, it is, but it isn't, I guess, because Mickey he's a power player. He can win competitions. He's not very smart, but he also has Holly behind him, who Holly is very smart. They just don't realize, I don't think yet, that there's that group with the Cliff's Angels, or whatever they actually are called. And so I think that, if they were smart, they would go after those people, but they don't know this yet. That's why they're playing such a good game, and that's why I'm really rooting for Jess and Nicole and Cliff. I think when it comes down to it, they could be in the final 3, 4, 5 people, because they are really keeping this kind of to themselves. And I potentially I could see maybe Tommy doing like a truce week and just puts up Jessica as a revenge thing for Jack, or maybe she's a pawn. Maybe he puts up Mickey and Jessica as like, Jessica's the pawn, we want Mickey to go, or whatever it is. But either way, again, I think they're all in a really good spot. I think I've gone back and forth on Christy too. I know she tried making amends with Mickey this week, and he completely shot it down, which I was happy to see. That made me happy. But she sometimes makes good moves and sometimes doesn't, and I don't like her chances this week. Also too, her power's gone. We're in an even playing field. She doesn't have the diamond power veto. All the extra powers are gone. I know we have next week the America's field trip coming up, but in terms of the extra powers, they're all gone, and so she's really not in an advantageous position compared to where she has been. And with the type of game she plays, emotional, and she can kind of let her mouth run sometimes, so it doesn't look like she's in the best spot, especially again being in a 3 group. I know she's safe this week because of Tommy, but what happens after that? What if one of the 4 of Cliff's group gets the head of household, or if Mickey doesn't get evicted this week and he gets it, he's definitely going after Christy. He doesn't like Christy. He's number 1. She is number 1 on his list. So it's going to be an interesting time now. I mean, we're really getting down to it. Jack is the first member of the jury. I do want to talk really quickly about too. They called him out on a lot of the crappy stuff he's been saying. I've mentioned that a few weeks back here when the whole thing was going down with Ovi and all that. But yeah, Jack has said some crappy stuff. Mickey said some really crappy stuff, and the first time I've really ever seen that is as they called him out on it. They showed video and they asked his opinion, and he was trying to scramble to defend himself, and I don't think he did a very good job. He's just a crappy person, along with Mickey. I'm glad that Jack is gone. I'm glad that he's not there anymore. He doesn't deserve to win. Neither does Mickey, and I can't wait for him to go. But it was interesting. I think that this is an interesting change for Big Brother, an interesting shift for Big Brother, because they, in the past, kind of just let these things go. They kind of just throw these things under the rug and hide them. Essentially, they edit around them and make people look certain ways. And they've really not done that this season. They've done a good job of showing some of the really crappy things that these people have done in terms of that mob mentality stuff. And so by them calling out Jack on this, it really sets a precedent of going forward. Now, the interesting thing will be Mickey, because there was rumors of him saying some racial slurs and things like that. Do they show that? Do they bleep it out? Do they call him out on that? Or they just show some of the other crappy things he said when he goes? Because he's going. There's no doubt about it. And honestly, I could see them doing it. Maybe, if he were to get to the end, I could see, if the final two, after all the votes have been cast, them just playing all this video of him being a shitty ass person. So it's going to be great TV. For one, I was hooked to the TV when they're doing it to Jack. So awesome stuff. Really great week in the Big Brother house. My favorite week so far. Some really great episodes, some really interesting moves that were made, and underneath all the whole 6-shooter implosion is that Jessica. I think that's the most impressive thing for me this week is Jessica. She made a big move. She has a resume now. She won veto. She's won competitions. She did everything she needed to do, and it was awesome. She even saved her week because everyone knew about the diamond veto, and so Christy could have used that. Christy could have, if Jessica didn't win, she could have used that for almost anyone, and I think that the fact that she just put that in her hands and said, I'm winning this veto competition, and making sure that veto, the diamond power veto, at this point was useless. She killed that diamond power veto. That's another thing for her. If she gets to the end, I don't see her doing that, but if she did, I think that's another thing to put on her resume is I killed the diamond power veto. I made sure it wasn't used. I made sure that I had all the power in the week I won HOH, and then whatever else on top of that. That's really what you have to do at this stage in the game is really start building your resume. So I think Cliff needs to win a few more things. I think that I don't really see the rest of that group winning a ton of stuff, but I think Cliff needs to win a few more things. Go ahead and get some people out of the house. Show why he should be one of the top players in the end. I think he needs to build that resume up. So he's getting there. I really like what Cliff is doing. So I'm rooting for him. He's a likable guy and he knows how to play the game. We'll see what happens though. He needs to win a few more things for that resume to be built. So yeah, I mean, if I'm looking at, maybe my quote unquote power rankings right now, I got Cliff at number 1. I got, for sure, Cliff at number 1. I really like, actually, I do like Kat. Kat, I think, is up there in terms of maybe number 2 or number 3. Nick is up there for me. I think I would have to put probably Christy up there just because I don't personally like her game, but she's running a lot of things. So probably those are my top 4. Maybe a 5th entry somewhere in there would be maybe Holly, actually. Probably Holly, because she has that final 2 with Kat. And I think she's in a good spot there. So it's just really, there's no overall numbers. It's really a split of like 4, 3, 3, and 1 right now in terms of who's left in the house. So it's interesting. And again, how the Cat can kind of be divvied up between that too. So you never know. You never know which group she's with. Again, it's just the power. This week she's probably going to be with Cliff and all them. So, and especially if Mickey or Holly goes. So anyway, that's it. What a fun week it was to watch Big Brother. We're getting really towards the heavy meat stuff of this, where things are going to go down, and I'm excited to see it all play out. I really hope that Cliff can get to the end, that group can get to the end, because that would mean that the power of the house, really who kind of started out as a power, usually a few of those people get to the final 3 or 4 or 5, and if that group can get there instead of some of the other 6-shooter people, that would be amazing. That would be really, really cool. So yeah, we're getting to it. It's a lot of fun to watch. Keep tuning in. In the meantime, please check us out on the regular SoCo Show, where we talk movies, TV, all kinds of stuff. I think we got some sports stuff coming up soon at the NFL season as maybe a separate thing. We got the sketches coming out soon. So check those out. Check out Jared at Jared Buckendahl on YouTube. He's got a ton of movie reviews. He's doing his movies in nonsense show that's coming up here pretty soon. And yeah, that is it. So from inside the SoCo studios, I'm Seth Ott. Good night. Previously on Big Brother.